Welcome back, guys. We're at it again. Yes, that's right. I have changed the podcast name yet again. Third time is a charm. Talking Taboo with Tara. I'm going to be talking with people that are telling their stories that are unfiltered. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's podcast.
The following is an adult podcast in which we discuss how we can better achieve emotional and sexual health and make the bedroom your favorite room in your home. This is the Sexy Blunt Girls podcast. Now here's your host, Miss J.
Hello, Melanie.
Hello, Miss J.
So we're going to get into your story. You have a lifelong story that you are going to be writing a book about eventually.
Yes.
And you're in rehab right now because you're finally getting yourself together. You finally know what you want and you're finding yourself, correct?
That is very correct, yes.
Okay, so let's start off with your story. You're 44 and it started in 1980. And what do you remember when you were 3 or 4?
Well, the first thing I remember was a traumatic situation that happened. And it was that I was being touched by both of my uncles and the neighbor.
Molested.
All at the same time. Yes, I was being molested and touched. I was never forced intercourse, but it was always touch and fondled and fellatio.
And explain for people that don't know what fellatio means.
It going in my mouth. I also remember, I don't know what you would call it, voyeurism or something.
To watch?
But like my dad would put a like a little creak in the door, would open the door a little bit and would stare and watch me sleep. And I would get freaked out that he would one day come in there, and I would just turn and pray to God, please don't let him come in here. So, but he never touched me, but he just had creepy qualities about himself.
So he has traits.
From when I was like 3 to like 9 or 10-ish, that's how long the molestation lasted for me.
From whom?
From all 3.
Okay.
I lived in these apartments. They were like low-cost apartments. A lot of my family members were all addicts, so it's in both sides of my family.
Okay.
So I remember being like 5 or 6 and finally getting enough nerve to tell my mom. But, you know, I noticed something at an early age about my mother. Like, she had days where she had this funny talk and she couldn't talk to me. She would push me away and tell me to go outside and play. Like, I didn't understand what that was. And there were other times that she was fine and I could talk to her. And I told her what was happening, and she told me what happens in a home stays in a home, and I better not go to school telling no stuff like that. That I was the biggest liar on earth. And I make stuff up.
She told you that?
Yeah. So quite honestly, majority of the time, from the time I was like 4 or 5 to about 9 or 10, I spent majority of my life at my grandmother's. My mother was on drugs. That's what the funny talk was, is she was on cocaine. She couldn't talk.
And you were too young to understand.
Yes, I didn't know what that was. But my grandmother was a Bible thumper, and so when I stayed with her, I had to go to church on Wednesday nights. I went to church Saturday nights, Sunday mornings, Sunday nights. I went to vacation Bible school. She was a Bible thumper. And I think I struggle with a block with God because I try to tell my grandmother what happened, and she told me sometimes we don't understand what goes on in life, and it's not my fault, but we still honor your mother and father. That's what the Bible says to do. And I never understood that. I'm like, what?
Right. I completely understand.
I'm like,
so no one believed you when you told people. No one believed you.
no. And like she said, like, I'm not allowed to go to school and tell anybody that I was, okay. So my mother and father, they were neglectful. They were emotionally, physically, and mentally abusive. I'm scared to death of them. And my dad was very physically abusive. He would spit in my face, and the loogies would just drip down my face. You know,
That's
and
fucking
he would.
gross. So you were trying to tell your story to your mom, your dad, your grandma, and no one believed you.
That's correct. Yes.
So when did finally someone believe you?
She still don't to this day. She tries to tell me about her story and about about her brother doing it to her. Okay, well, so would you deny that happened to you? Is that why you say it didn't happen to me? Like, I try to talk to her. She gets mad because I call her a narcissist because she turns everything into something about her.
Oh.
So, I mean, she's a lot better. She's clean and sober now for like 18 years.
That's
something
good.
like that. Yeah, it's good. You know, the forgiveness did not come overnight. And I think it's the only, I'll tell you later how I first started forgiving her.
Okay.
But I struggled with God. But I was still made to go to church all the time. I didn't understand very much. In 1986, my mom got pregnant again with my sister. And from what I know now, she used cocaine the entire pregnancy. And when my sister came out, they tried to tell my mom that my sister was mentally retarded. They said mentally retarded back then.
Right, I know. It's called mentally unstable now. But go ahead.
Well, it's more like autism, I think, now. My mom had divorced my dad in 1986 because he was beating her horribly all the time. Police was always at our house. And she married the best man in her wedding, which was his best friend.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
And how long was she married with him?
Not very long, maybe 2 years at the most.
And then she ended up getting back with your dad, right?
Yes. And I kind of blame myself for that because I was like 11 or 12 years old, maybe at the most. And I stole her Cadillac that was given to her for her wedding present. I backed it out. I didn't even know how to drive.
Girl.
I backed it out of the driveway and I drove and I picked up a couple of friends. I was in middle school.
So let me guess, the police end up finding you?
Yes, the police ended up finding me. And they were going to send me home with my mom and dad. But I begged them, please don't. Like, please don't. He's going to kill me. Like, please don't. Like, I don't want to. So I made him send me to DH.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
You chose DH over going home?
Yes. I met a boy and I got pregnant. Actually, let me back up a little bit more to that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Like, wait a minute. We was just in middle school and now you're pregnant?
Okay, no. I was, hold on. Let me go back first. When I lived at Bob's, there was a boy that came over and kind of raped my mouth. So I was sexually assaulted. So that happened and that happened. And then Blend was having a dance. I was with a friend and this guy who dated somebody so I'm in 8th grade. This man took us to a hotel, bought us some alcohol. The friend had sex with the man and said, I'm going outside to smoke a cigarette. And then he turned and said, your turn, and brutally raped me and left me in a pool of blood.
Took your virginity?
Yes. I laid in that shower. She never came back. I laid in that shower in a fetal position, just crying. And I think for 3 days I bled.
Wow.
Yes. So that's how my virginity was taken. So going forward, living in that apartment, when I started dating, I got pregnant at 13. And when my mom figured it out, she's like, "You're not having a period. Are you pregnant?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I am." Well, she tells my dad, and I'm over at my grandmother's house hiding out from him. And he comes over, he puts his hand around my neck, puts me up in the air, spits in my face. He knees me in my stomach, puts me down, flushes my head down the toilet, and says, "We don't have them kind of babies." Because he was black.
Oh, wow.
He said, "You're having an abortion. I don't care. You're having an abortion." So the next day they took me to the abortion clinic, and the abortion clinic said, "Is anyone making you do this?" And I said, "Yeah, my dad." Let me tell you, you thought that was bad? The ass whooping I got when I left the abortion center was 100 times worse.
Seriously?
Yes.
They still made you go through with it?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And I looked at my grandma like, "Why are you letting this happen?" And all she could do was turn her head. She couldn't get in between my mom and my dad and my problems. And that's what turned me against like my grandma, like for real, like, how can you not protect me? That's when I started drinking, smoking weed. And my mom put cocaine up my nose for the first time.
Oh, wow. Your mom introduced you to drugs?
Yes. Yes. Then I got pregnant again at 14. There was a guy named Jason that they let move in my house, sleep in my bed. What did they think was happening?
Right.
And this time I didn't tell him. I was almost 6 months pregnant. And my mom said, "Do you remember what happened last time?" I said, "I do." She said, it's going to be far worse than that. You're very far along." So she drove me to Cleveland, and I had to get a partial birth abortion at 14.
Oh, my God.
My mom at this point in time has graduated to crack cocaine. And my mom was the kind of crackhead where everything that wasn't bolted to the floor came up missing. My dad was a functional addict. He had a job for 30 years. And so, like, when we would go buy food, when he would finally get paid, he'd pay the mortgage, all that stuff. Like, the next day we'd wake up, mom was gone, and everything in our refrigerator was gone. She gave away our Christmas ornaments. I mean, like things you would never even imagine.
We're gone.
Were gone. She was taking things out of my closet little by little, selling them to people. I haven't talked to my sister for 6 years as of right now, but I just now started talking to her again, and she even said she remembers being little, and all her stuff would come up missing, but she didn't understand what was going on either. I know at some point before all of this, my mom went to treatment, and I remember my dad taking me to go see her at Parkside. But I remember coming home, being in bed, and catching him with another woman in my mom's bed.
How did that make you feel?
I didn't understand it. I was hurt. I wanted my mom. But to be honest, I've never had my mom. So did I expect anything else? No. But did I expect to see a woman in my mother's bed? No. It was devastating to me.
Right.
So like I said, my dad physically, mentally, emotionally abused me. Spit in my face, all that stuff. I was bullied as a child because my mom would do things like when she was high, and like, so for when I was little, I had really blonde, like white blonde hair, past my ass, and she cut it all off and spiked the top of it. Like, why did you do that?
Wow. Because that was the hairstyle back then. The mullet, the spiked hair on top of the mullet.
I am a girl.
Right. I had it too, though.
I look at some of the pictures and I'm like, why did you do that to me?
Like, yeah, I know.
She's like, you wanted that. And I'm thinking to myself, no, the fuck I didn't.
I remember I asked for it. Because my dad had it. Girl, I asked for it. I wanted it.
So I was bullied. I wasn't a very popular. I did self-harm. I had a lot of depression, anxiety.
What kind of self-harm did you do?
I was a cutter. I cut myself.
You like pain.
I don't think it's not that I liked pain. I wanted to feel
something.
The pain. I wanted to feel something because I felt the ass whoopings, but I wanted to release everything else some way.
Mm-hmm.
That's why later in life I started getting tattoos, because when I got really deep in drugs, like, I didn't feel nothing. And I'm like, okay, I need to get a tattoo or something because I wanted to start cutting.
But
again.
Isn't that the point of doing drugs, is so you don't feel nothing?
Not like this. It got serious because I have a lot of diagnoses with my mental health. It runs in my family on both sides as well.
And you
so my mom,
you didn't know this for a very long time.
No, I didn't. Well, when I was 17, they diagnosed me with manic depressant, which is bipolar, which I my mom didn't press the issue and didn't get me on meds or none of that stuff. But she thought I was freaking crazy. But I thought she would, so she put me in DH on my 16th birthday because she wouldn't get up. She was in a crack coma and my grandma was going to take me shopping. And I was angry about that, so I threw a shoe at her head. So she called the police. She thought they were going to take me to jail. They took us both to jail.
Wow. Yeah. They knew something was wrong with her as well, huh?
Absolutely. Police was always, especially Mifflin Township right there, they don't play. And so she got so sick of me taking her car all the time, they bought me a car at the age of 14. I didn't even have a license.
They bought you a vehicle at the age of 14 and you didn't have a license, so they let you drive.
Yeah. And Clinton, I couldn't even get my license until I was 18 because Clinton Township would always pull me over.
Because they knew you didn't have a license.
Right. Me and guess who? My baby's dad. But going back, do you want me to talk about my diagnosis?
Yes.
Okay, so
because mental health awareness is so minute. People need to understand it is a huge problem.
Absolutely.
And a lot more people have it. A lot more people have it than they realize, and people need to go to the doctor and get diagnosed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you have to be diagnosed when you're clean and sober. So I've been to plenty of rehabs. I want to be honest. I've been to at least 25 rehabs. I've had stints.
Trying to get off drugs, correct?
Yes.
And what is your preferred drugs? What have you done? What kind of drugs have you done?
I have done everything. So it started with marijuana, alcohol. I started cocaine. Them were my three, and acid and shrooms when I was a kid. And then I graduated at the age of about 25. And I started smoking crack, something I said I would never do. I'd never be like my mom. Guess what I was? And then I moved on to heroin, tar heroin.
Weren't you shooting cocaine at one point?
I was doing them both. I was doing speedballs.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I got lots of stories about those. We'll get to that later.
Okay, mind you, audience, I've known her since I was 18.
We've actually went to middle school together.
Right, we went to middle school together. We knew each other then, but we really knew each other when I was 18 living in my own place.
Yes.
But keep going.
So I got diagnosed with manic depressant when I was 16, 17, something like that. But my mom's a drug addict. and she's not going to pursue the issue. And quite honestly, I had my own place at the age of 15. So I was in and out. I've been in and out of my mom and dad's house my whole life because being on drugs, I can't hold a household and be on drugs at the same time.
Okay, how did you have an apartment at 15?
I had to get away from them.
But did they get it in their name and let you live there? I'll come to that in a second. Let me tell you about the mental health, and then I'll tell you what happened with that. So I am diagnosed bipolar manic depressant. I'm 1 and 2. I have PTSD, severe PTSD and anxiety. I have borderline personality disorder. I have a lot of personality disorders. Actually, I'm diagnosed with DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, which is multiple personalities. And with everything, with all the traumas that I've had in my life, I have dissociated. My brain has gone somewhere else while these traumatic events have happened, and I've created a whole other person inside of me to protect me, to protect my brain, is what they've told me. So they say they think there's over 10 of them in my body. I have names for some of them. 10? Yes. Now, I know a couple of them.
Yes, you do. I used one of them later on. I was her for many, many years, and I worked by her name. And that is my sexy, what do you call it? Provocative, erotic, man eater. That's what I want to call her.
I know this is hard for you to talk about, but I appreciate you talking about it.
No worries.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all right.
I have had a lot of EMDR over the years because I had 6.5 years clean at one point, had a lot of EMDR therapy, and I've worked a lot with with therapists. And
what is DMR? What did you say?
It's like eye movement, something about it's about bringing traumas out. Because I have so many personalities, I don't remember things. So they had me they had me doing things so I'm right-handed, so I'm left-brained. I'm left-brained.
Right.
They had me writing in my left hand to bring memories out of my right brain.
Wow.
So they just had me, when I was in treatment for them 3 years, and I was seeing the therapist after that, like I was doing a lot of work on me. And so I brought out a lot of memories and a lot of traumas and things.
Okay. What do you remember the most?
Well, that's when I started to remember about the molestations, and
as a child.
Yes. So then
we tend to block those out, don't we?
Yes. And so it came back to me one day when somebody turned on some country music. They turned it up real loud, and I was like, turn it down. Because that's how I know they were coming in the room. They would turn the country music on and blast it.
Right.
So, like, I will not listen to country music now.
Yeah, it's a trigger for you.
Absolutely. You know, and you know, I don't like to explain that to people, but I'm just like, I have a trauma with that. Can you please turn that off? And most people are pretty accepting of it.
Absolutely.
You know, I have a lot of triggers and a lot of this time in treatment, I am finding myself, I'm feeling like a crybaby bitch, which I've never been in my life.
So you're in treatment now.
Yes.
How long have you been there?
So I came to treatment on the 7th of November. I spent 11 days in detox because I was heavily drinking straight liquor and smoking crack cocaine. And I'll get to what brought me here later.
Right.
But
I just want everybody to know that you are in treatment right now.
Yes, but I came here. I went to detox on the 7th. I didn't get to actual Cincinnati to Seacrest until the 19th.
Okay, now nobody's making you do this, not the courts, not anybody. You're doing this on your own this time, right?
Absolutely. And I will be upfront and honest. I want to be upfront and honest and say I do have warrants right now.
See, that's the key right there. You have to want it. If
Absolutely
you don't
have to want it.
It's not going to happen.
You know, and I've heard a lot of things. I mean, like I said, I've been in 25 treatment centers, and things that I've heard before and seen before, I'm seeing them in a whole perspective, and I'm scared for my life.
Why is that?
So the thing that brought me to treatment this time was I had a seizure. I was in a seizure for over 7 minutes. I stopped breathing. I turned blue, and I about bit. The tip of my tongue was hanging off my strings. And I was in a trap house.
And nobody was calling 911, was they?
No, they called 911, but I didn't see anybody around. I woke up to 7 paramedics around me, and they're
lucky.
like, these are people I've been for many, many years, and they gotta have. Otherwise, they probably would have threw me out in the alley.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're very, very lucky. Usually, they will throw you in the corner somewhere, or they will not call 911.
Or throw you out in the middle of the road, or a trash can. I mean, but the paramedics said that they had been there. I was completely blue. I had not been breathing for at least 6 minutes. So before all of this happened, I was with somebody that I've known for 30 years. And my arm kept doing this funny thing. And he's like, how long have you been up? And I said, I just came out last night. He's like, yeah, right. And I'm like, I promise. And my arm was doing this funny thing. Well, it wasn't until I got here to where I'm at now, we watched a video about strokes where I learned I was on my way to having a stroke.
So, your life was in danger if you don't stop doing drugs. Your body's telling you if you do not stop, you're going to fucking die. Correct? Absolutely.
Sorry to be bouncing.
No, you're okay. It's all right.
I told you my mom and dad bought me a car at 14.
Okay.
I had a fake ID, and I was dancing at the Centerfold Lounge by the airport. And
good old Centerfold.
But the female there knew I was lying about my age, and I was way younger than what I was, and asked me, did I want to go do, she was like, you can make way more money in Pittsburgh. I'll take you on a Greyhound there, introduce you to my friends. So
she got you into the circuit.
No. What she did was take me to Pittsburgh and sell me to a pimp and a madam.
Sold you?
Yeah.
Human trafficking.
Yeah. I didn't know what was going on. I've never been in a situation like that. So she was like, take off your clothes, turn around. And by the time I turned around, I said, where'd my friend go? And they said, honey, she's gone. And there was a security guard sitting at the door. And she was like, you're going to do just fine. And she pushed me in the room, and there was a man naked in the bed. And I'm like, hold on 1 minute. And I walked way out the door, and I said, what is this? And she was like, it's fine, honey. All you got to do. And she explained how to turn a trick. Did I ever see any money? No.
Explain to me how she explained to you how to turn a trick.
She said, so what you're going to do is go in there and you're going to offer him a light massage and, make all talk with him, make him feel like he's a powerful, wonderful, sexy man. Ask him, is there anything that he's particularly wanting today? And try to fulfill his needs the best way possible. And you'll do anything he asks you to do.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the end, like when she wanted to go home and go to bed, we would take this elevator down to it was like a basement, like we're a garage, it was a garage. But back in the corner of it was like this, I don't know what you call it. It looked like it should have been like a water main boil room or something. But it was soundproof. And it was center blocks, and on the inside it was soundproof, and it had a mattress on the floor with a pillow and a blanket, and there was a lock on the door, and she would lay me there for the evening.
Are you serious?
And had no light in it, and I could hear the mice and the rats and the whatnot, whatever, because there were trash cans right outside the door, and I could feel the bugs crawling up, up around me. I have a complete bug phobia. I have really bad PTSD from that, so I don't do bugs. I don't do roaches, bed bugs. No, I will freak the fuck out. Yeah. Any kind of rodents, nope, not going. Nope, you better. Yeah.
Wow. How long were you stuck with this madam?
About 3 to 4 months.
And what did she do? Trade you off?
No, SWAT raided.
Oh, so you got lucky.
Absolutely. I don't know what would happen to me. And I couldn't get a hold of my mom or dad. So when I got home,
were you charged with anything, or did they get them for human trafficking?
They got them with human trafficking, and yes. They asked me, did I want to come back and testify? I said, I do not never want to come back here.
I bet you hugged that officer as soon as they saw you, or as soon as you saw them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I did. I was petrified. I was so scared.
Yeah, but 3 or 4 months is a long time to be stuck somewhere you don't want to be and you can't get out. And
what made me move out was when I got home, my mom and dad never even noticed I was gone.
They didn't ever even put a missing person out on you?
No. So I was 16, sold into human trafficking, 17, got pregnant.
I knew you then.
I was 17. So, yeah. Well, yeah, because I was 18 when I had Ariana.
Yeah, I knew you when you were 17. I was 18.
Yeah. You were 18. I was 17. Because
right.
You're like a year older than me.
Well, I'm 46. You're 44. I just
maybe you were 2 years older.
Yeah.
Well, then, right when I came back from being saved from that whole fiasco, that's probably when I met you, because John had all kinds of issues and women that he was. Yeah.
That's how we met. Was JP. I did not know he had a girlfriend. I was young, naive, and having fun, and had my own apartment, and he was at the bar, and he was 16 years old, and I did not know this. And I took him into the bathroom and fucked his brains out, and remember bits and pieces of it that night because I was drinking and didn't make right choices. Wasn't it
Minsky's Music Hall?
Yes, it was. Minsky's Music Hall. Took him straight in the bathroom, fucked his brains out, and then took him back to his table and dropped him off.
But somehow me and Monica ended up over there at your apartment.
Yes, you came there to fight me because you found out he was fucking me.
But see, this is the immature me. And this is Billy, really. Okay, this is Billy, really. Because I always blaming the female when it was him. It was him the whole time.
Exactly.
But you and I became beautiful friends. Just we'll get to the other baby's mama later, and I'll tell you a whole story about that. But her and I are beautiful friends now too.
Wonderful.
But it took me a long time to realize what toxicity he put in my life, and it took a lot of growing up with our children to realize how toxic it was for us to separate, him go to prison, and a lot of stuff to happen in between. And that's when I had a choice. I'm like, okay, well, I know how to make some money now because I was traumatized. I'm going to go do it for myself. I started working for an escort agency. It was called Diamond Dolls. This is back in the day when we put ads in the newspaper. And it was set up like very nice. Me and the owner got along very well, and very soon enough I became manager of that place. And then so JP thought I was pregnant with his baby, and I had to tell him, no, honey, this is not your baby. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I cheated on you. I went home with this guy and I fucked him for some coke. And he was fucking devastated. So the dude supposedly was going to give me some money for an abortion. I was never going to have an abortion. I just want you to know that now. I've already had 2 traumatized abortions.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you had no part in that no more. I can understand.
No. I looked at my parents. I said, I'm 17. You can't fucking stop me. I'm having this baby. Working at Diamond Dolls, I was a manager there. I moved in my own apartment in Grandview. I'm dancing sometimes, and I'm at the escort agency. But I'm fucking plastered. So they're like, are you sure you can drive? I'm like, yeah, I can drive. I totally blacked the fuck out. And it has 270 goes around to 670.
Mm-hmm.
I went off the freeway, I guess. I woke up standing on my windshield.
Your car was in a tree. They literally had to take it out of the tree. How did
the tree.
How did you
So listen to this. If God hasn't been with me, I don't know what so I remember looking down. I'm like, how am I on my windshield? And I'm looking around, and I'm like, oh, shit. I open up the corridor, and I'm like, I'm in a pine tree? What the fuck? So I jump like 4 feet down, and then I'm walking in and out, and I'm walking down 270. I have no coat on. It's the middle of fucking winter. I walked from before Easton all the way down to Monica's when she was in Woodland Square. To meet Kenny, to get my whatever. I do a
your weekly allowance in dope and a fuck.
Yes.
I mean, let's be real.
I didn't even get that. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know where the car is. I'm walking in and out. I don't know. My hands were frozen. I climbed up a snowy hill to get into our apartments. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to report it stolen. So, I snorted a line of cocaine, and they're like, you're going to snort coke first?
Yeah, so you can sober up.
Yeah, and then freaking, I think the Minerva Park Police or Blendon Township or something comes in, and I'm telling him, so, a week goes by, and the insurance adjuster comes to find me at my mom's house. My mom's like, she works at one of these bars right here on 161. He shows up at the strip club. He gets a couple of VIP dances, and 2 days later, they paid the car off completely.
Wow. You definitely got guardian angels. That's for damn sure. I mean, come
For
on.
damn sure. Yes. But so I gotta go take meds and things are. Can we
Pick up another
continue
time?
our story? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Whenever you're ready to do another one, let me know.
Absolutely, I will.
Okay.
And we'll pick up from here.
Okay, sounds great. I look forward to it.
Thanks for listening to the Sexy Blunt Girls podcast. Please subscribe to us on your favorite platform so you can be notified when all of our new episodes drop. You can also find out more about our podcast at sexybluntgirls.com. The content on this show should not be taken as medical advice and is presented for informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions.